Welcome, everyone, to our podcast. We're so excited today to have special guests, Hanna, who is from Florida, and Suvi, who is from London, UK. And today we wanted to speak to these very cherished young people about the pandemic, about their lives, what they would like to see in the future, and how us adults can help them with their future and in their education in all areas of life. And so I know in my work that I learn a lot from my clients, and I have certainly learned a lot. I coached Suvi. I think you were 13 when we started, isn't that right? Or
Yeah, we
12
were
or
13. I was 13, yeah.
yeah. And so we've done a lot of life and leadership coaching with Suvi, and he kept teaching me more and more and more. You know, we think as adults we're teaching the kids, but they are also teaching us. So I'm very grateful. I'm really looking forward to hearing the responses to some of the questions we're going to be asking today. So the first question really is about sports. You know, the pandemic. Uh, curtailed a lot of sports and a lot of our abilities to be active until we discovered ways to do it. So I'm just wondering, Hanna, what sports do you play?
I don't really do any sports, but I do karate.
Wow. Tell me about karate. Tell me about karate. Why do you like karate?
I like karate because learning to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm. And good exercise, yeah?
Yeah, good exercise.
And I think it also, one of my nephews was in karate, and I think he told me that it taught him how to be a good person. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So during the pandemic, were you still able to do karate with a group, or what happened there?
Well, during the pandemic, I got to do privates. Um, I got to do privates during the pandemic because my mom didn't really want us to be in a large group.
Right. And how was that? That was okay?
Yeah, that was actually very good.
Yeah.
Well, it's still happening right now.
Ah, very good. Awesome. Great. And Suvi, how about you? You are into soccer, I think, right?
Yeah, so I went to football.
Football,
And
football,
Wow.
football.
yeah, football.
So,
But yeah,
so now this English Premier League, you like Chelsea and the
yeah,
Manchester
I love the Premier League. Yeah, right now it's the Euros that's going on, and England's actually made it to the finals, so we're very excited to see how that turns out. But yeah, I do football and I do boxing as well. So these are sort of the two sports that I do mainly, and the pandemic definitely had an effect on both of these sports, as both of these sports are very, out in the open. Sort of, you need to be in a big space and you need to be with people in order to enjoy the sport because you can't really play football on your own. It's not really fun. But yeah, so it really affected it because we were all at home and it was a complete lockdown, and you couldn't really go outside. You could go outside for 30 minutes for exercise, but you couldn't go in groups. And so the active side and just being able to go out and wanting to be active for me sort of went down because I was just at home because I didn't really have any motivation to go outside, play football, do boxing. And yeah, so that's how the pandemic affected me personally in terms of my sport.
hmm And what does the future look like in terms of sports for you? Because I know you've been under lockdown, and so maybe soon you'll be able to go out and play again?
Yeah, so we can play again now.
Oh,
It's the lockdown is being eased off slowly but surely, and it's still to be honest, it's not really like what it used to be because you still have to have certain number of groups. You can't have a lot of people in one group, so you're sort of restricted to how many people you can actually play with, and and that's for football. But for boxing, it's still very difficult because boxing is a very high contact sport,
yeah.
and right now high contact is something we need to avoid. So it's difficult, and I think in the future as well, it's going to be quite difficult to sort of go right back to how it used to be, because the coronavirus now is always going to be here, and there's always going to be some sort of threat, and there's always going to be new viruses coming that we don't know about. So definitely, even if the coronavirus and everyone's fully vaccinated, all of that, but we still need to make sure that we're sort of careful and we're not reckless. So there's always going to be I think there's always going to be some sort of distancing, and we won't be able to go back to full normality.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to get better surely, but it's going to take time, in my opinion.
Marion, I think you wanted to ask a question about how the pandemic has been a benefit to these two young people.
Well, we hear so much in media and people generally when we're talking, right? We're focused on all of the unfortunate things that the pandemic brought, and the limitations, and of course the loss, and just the change in our daily lives. But on the flip side of that, and that's one thing that I, from a philosophy standpoint in life, I feel it's important to look at not only that side, which certainly was there, but also the positive side of what positive might have come from it, or what experiences have we enjoyed as a result of it. And so that is something I'd be curious, Suvi and Hanna, like, what was there anything that came from this time, this year, that you feel you wouldn't have otherwise experienced, or something positive that is memorable? Hanna, do you want to share with us what that might be for you? Suvi, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So I think one of the
Suvi,
main.
could you bring your camera down a little bit, because we're
yeah.
Yes, much better, thank you. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the main things that sort of came from this pandemic was, for me, learning how to adapt, because we were also used to just going out, not really knowing about social distancing and not really knowing about these things. And I think a very positive thing that came out of it was how can we adapt to different situations and new situations. So there was this virus going around, and we had to sort of adapt our lives around it. And in terms of sport, what that meant was we had to find new ways and better ways to make sure we're safe whilst we can still have fun. So I think the skill of learning how to adapt to new situations was one of the positives that came out of this pandemic.
We're more resilient than we think we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask Suvi a question about this, that as a teenager, when you go to a school, face-to-face school, and, sports and so on, it could be, there could be threats there to the teenager in terms of drugs and alcohol and whatever, right? And I was wondering, that could probably have been a benefit to teenagers globally, that they were safer at home. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely, anywhere you go, there's obviously going to be distractions and these sort of things that are not good for us. And I think the pandemic has shielded a lot of kids and a lot of teenagers, and it's sort of helped us not get distracted by these distractions and the wrong things, because we're in our homes, we're alone with our family, and not being exposed to these things because of the pandemic was, I think, a very important and very good thing that came out of this.
That's wonderful. And Hanna, I was wondering, I'm going to guess that you've spent a lot of time with your sisters, yeah? You got to know your sisters better, and was that a benefit for you?
Well, yeah, actually was.
And did you spend more time with mommy in the kitchen, or like you spent more time with your mom and dad and the whole family?
Well, yeah, I actually did. And well, I also got to spend more time with my grandma because she visited all the way from Richfield.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. I bet you she loved that too.
Well, she is actually still here.
Ah, very good. That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Hannah, like certain things that came out, like a movie day or games at home with sisters, that before there maybe wasn't as much time.
Mm-hmm.
What did you like most about that? What did you enjoy?
Well, I actually enjoyed playing with my sisters because we usually play games, and that was very enjoyable, and we wouldn't have been able to do that because usually my sisters just want to do something else.
There you go. Oh, that's great. So, what I'd love to ask now is, what would the two of you like this world to look like in the future? Hanna, have you ever thought about that? What would you like our world to look like for you in the future?
Well, I never thought about that, but now that I think about it, I might have an answer. I would like it. Well, I would like the world to look happier because now, wait, did I say happier? No, I
Yeah, you said happier.
Well,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because right now, a lot of people are fighting. Lots of people fight, and so.
You mean in the families or in between countries, or what do you mean when they're fighting?
Like families and friends. And I'd also like to look healthier because now some people don't even recycle, and that means we're polluting the planet.
Oh.
And the planet is like all we have to live on right now.
Have you been, Hanna, have you been following Greta Thunberg and everything that she talks about climate change? Do you know her? Have you watched her? Okay. She's from Europe, and she's very strong. I think she's 18 now, but she started when she was just Suvi's age. Around.
I think she started even younger, like 12.
Wow. Okay.
Very young, yeah.
A real climate change activist. She's worried about fossil fuels, and she's a vegan, for example.
Greta.
She wants.
Greta.
Yeah. What's that? Greta. Yeah. Greta Thunberg. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Hanna, you're saying you'd like the world to be happier, and you'd like people to recycle more. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what else, if anything, would you like the world to look like in the future for you?
Well, I'd like it to look that that people could actually try focusing on one another.
Wow.
Instead of on their own thing, sometimes.
Wow. Wouldn't that be awesome if everybody was to love one another and focus on one another, yeah? Hanna, I think we would stop war if we did that. We wouldn't have war if everybody loved one another completely. Wouldn't that be special?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. It means a lot to me.
She told me she likes math subjects very much.
Okay. Well, we will, let's move into that in a moment. Suvi, how about you? What would you like this world to look like for you?
Well, for me personally, I would like this world to be more accepting and definitely more peaceful, because I feel like nowadays we can literally pick fights or start conflicts over the smallest things and things that don't really matter a lot. And I think I would like that to change. And in the coming years, we need to sort of help one another, not turn our backs on each other and have conflicts and start fights. And also, I would like us to move forward with, having an open mind, like I said, being diverse and, sort of accepting what other people think, accepting what other people say. And obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but that doesn't mean just because someone else has a different opinion, we can, sort of put them down or say that they're weird or say that they're someone who's not right. And this comes into if you look at it with a larger perspective as well, it happens between countries, it happens between, people, very powerful people, which results in major conflicts and which results in just a non-peaceful world. So I think I would like that to change moving forward.
Well, let's pray for that for both of you.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So how do both of you think that as adults we can work together to create this future? Hanna says she wants a happier world, improved recycling, and that we focus on one another, love each other. And Suvi, you said to be more accepting and peaceful and help one another, no conflicts, and have an open mind, be more diverse in our thinking. So, what can we adults do to help you? Because you are, you're both leaders already, leaders in your home, leaders in your communities, and then as you go into university and, you'll be out in the world, right? So how can we better prepare you, or what can we do to help you create this future? Hanna, what do you think?
Well, I'm not sure.
What do you need from people like me?
I'm actually not so sure.
One of the things, Hanna, I think that, you brought up before sometimes is like how adults are on phones and so often occupied with their own things that, what about that? When you say something, how does that make you feel when you don't feel like you get the full attention?
That's a good one.
Hanna, how does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel ignored.
So what would you wish would be different?
That people sometimes can put away the things that they're doing and actually talk to the person who is talking to them. To pay a little more attention. Well, to be aware of what's happening around you.
To look you straight in the eye and really have a heartfelt conversation, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you feel that your opinion matters and that your opinion is worth as much as an adult's opinion?
Well, only sometimes.
So what would you wish it would look like?
Well, what do you mean by that?
If you could make up the world as you want it, how would those conversations look like?
Well, they would look like people would cooperate with one another more and actually like talk to them and give them their full attention, their undivided attention.
So when you feel ignored, what do you do? Do you let that pass, or what do you do with that?
I usually just walk away to the person I was talking to.
How does that make you feel?
I feel fine.
So maybe the adults need to learn how to, as you said, pay more attention to the young people, to value your opinion, right? To value you as a person.
I feel, even as an adult, we could benefit so much from that point of view that a younger generation has, because they're looking at the world with a much clearer, maybe less biased way, and perhaps that playfulness wouldn't hurt us as adults sometimes to take more seriously.
Well, Hanna, I'm going to do my best in the future to listen more to young people.
Okay.
You have my promise. Suvi, how about you? What advice would you give for adults so that we can help create this world that you would like, which is be accepting and peaceful and help one another, do away with conflicts and have an open mind and be diverse? What do you think?
I think a really important thing that as adults you can help us with is sort of having, so you know how, adults, like, they read the news, they know what's going around the world, they're very aware people. That's their day-to-day thing, that's their day-to-day job. But I feel like not sort of making a bias for us kids, not telling us, oh, this opinion or this thing is right, but rather telling us, this is what some people think, this is what some people say. Now it's up to you to decide, because I feel like when we don't have a concrete sort of opinion, and we can sort of make up our own mind, that's when we start to be more open-minded, and we're like, oh, I looked at it this way, but I can also look at it that way, and that really creates open-minded people, open-minded citizens, which our world needs more.
That brings up an awesome point, Suvi, because I believe what you just said will also help us be more accepting of others, because when you're allowed as a young adult or as a child to make your own opinion, you are less biased when it comes to other people, perhaps even friends or people that are in your classroom that, where as young adults or children, we're hearing a lot of what our parents and what people around us are saying. And sometimes there's some kind of biases along with that. So when we allow you to have your own opinion, that actually reflects in how you're dealing with, classmates or other kids or other young adults around you.
I think that's a very good point. That's exactly what I mean. So not forming a bias, because as young adults, like you said, we sort of learn a lot from what our parents and what adults around us say, and so we can form a bias unknowingly, because our parents don't force us to believe something, but if they strongly push or if they strongly make you opinionated, then you're going to form a bias without knowing. So I think adults can help us by just giving us freedom to make our own choices.
Can anybody out there